Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Q1 FY26 earnings season of our Good Decent Percentage series. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about one company alone, that is Shakti Pumps. We will see what went down in the con call and what happened. I think the appropriate title would be Shakti Pumps. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with the company? I think that would be an appropriate title. But anyways, today I'm just going to just cut straight to the point and talk. I'm not going to make it a saga, talk about the business model or anything. Just directly, if it is bad, क्या बुरा है, वही मैं बोल के निकल के चली जाऊंगी. So first thing first, अगर आप शक्ति पंप्स को देखते हो ना, see, here is the thing. What I think a lot of people have confusion over here. I will break down each and every point. When you look at Shakti Pumps, the first thing you see is the pace of growth घट गया, right? For the last 2 quarters, 9% से grow करे. Now, one thing is they guided for 25% kind of growth, but you see that the guidance is nowhere being met, or even on a nearby, it's not even touching there. So this is one thing. Guidance तो पहला बात है कि जो guidance दिया 25 to 30% का guidance, वो भी नहीं किया उन्होंने. Now forget about the guidance that is there, ठीक है? Because forget about the guidance, they gave 25 to 30% का guidance, but sales only grew by hardly 9%. Leave that aside. Let's talk about the company other than the guidance. The first thing is, अगर आप देख तो clearly यहाँ पे pace of growth तो घट गया. Now I know a counter argument from you people will be like, अरे no company can grow at 400%, 300%. Yes, you are correct. At the end of the day, no company can sustain that kind of a growth, right? But eventually that growth will taper off and everything, right? That is also correct. But here, that is not yours and my fault over here, right? That is not how the world works. So that is one thing. Second thing here is, again, connected to the pace of growth, I will tell you. Remember, I always tell you, whenever you talk, it's just not about the growth ka numbers. You will have to understand, the mahal of the con call, the environment of the con call. Because no company, no management, most of the management, I'll tell you, they will not come and directly tell you हाँ भाई हमारा time बुरा चल रहा है, right? हमारे लंका में आग लग गया. They will not come and tell you. Nobody will wash their dirty linen in public, right? But they will use certain words that that you have to find out through those words, what the situation of the con call is like. Why am I telling this is because अगर आप उस words को समझते हो, remember in the investment checklist workshop हम बार बार ये बोलते रहते हैं कि the entire con call is like a treasure hunt, okay? And this con call में, just like in treasure hunt, you have clues, and through the clues you find the treasure. Similarly in the con call, your clues are going to be these words. From these words you have to decipher and find out, where can this company go? What is the direction of this company looking like? Now if you look at Shakti Pumps ko con call, right, I believe since the last 2 quarters, in the H1 FY25 last year का con call में उन्होंने बोला था, Q2 का con call में, if you go look before that con call, what people didn't understand was, you see, management has always guided for 25 to 30%. If you look at it, whether when they were doing really well, whether when they're doing bad right now, they've always done 25 to 30% का ये guidance से बोला, guidance तो reduce नहीं किया. So people are not able to understand कि although guidance has not been reduced, although the company is upholding the guidance, यहाँ पे इतना aberration क्यों आया? Why is the stock reacting in this way? The clue comes where वो call का माहौल में, ठीक है? अगर आप देखते हो, I think I've been covering this, since the last from a very long time up. I think I've covered it by the end of Q2 or Q3 also. You would have seen earlier, if you see in the con call, what they used to tell, I know we are growing really well, but I would want to, just to be, better to be safe than sorry, because they talk in Hindi. मैं उसको थोड़ा English में अपने भाषा में मैं बोलने का कोशिश कर रही हूँ कि better to be safe and sorry, we would like to conservatively guide and tell 25 to 30%. So वो क्या बोल रहा था कि भाई मैं तो 30% से ज्यादा करूंगा, but I would like to tell कि 25 to 30%. वो ऐसा बोल के बात कर रहा था, ठीक है? तो management used to talk like that. But now in the last 2 quarters, I would say not last 3 quarters, Q2 का end के बाद अगर आप वो con call को देखते हो, they indirectly started telling कि do not expect that kind of high growth that we have done. अभी अपना growth का expectations को कम करो. Right now we will do only 25 to 30%. जो हमने बोला है 25 to 30%, वही लेके चलो. Earlier what they used to tell, they used to give that mahal in the con call, भाई 25 to 30% मैं दे रहा हूँ, but उसे ज्यादा ही करो. Then what the narrative changed कि जो मैंने दिया वही मैं करके रखूंगा. So क्या हुआ market को वो that pace of growth, obviously that tapered by a huge factor starting from Q3 of last year. Then what happened in this con call, when you see in Q1 of FY26, they are repeatedly telling क्या बोल रहे, we will at least try to do 25 to 30% what we have guided for. Management that was telling I am conservatively guiding for 25 to 30% is right now using the word at least 25 to 30%, which means what? मतलब I will ragad ke make kuch, whatever happens, I will do 25 to 30%. This is the first big red flag that is there, okay? Which you would have caught it in the Q, which you would have seen progressively, how the mahal is getting, worse from the last Q2, okay? This is first negative red flag. Now, if you look at it, ठीक है, उन्होंने 25 to 30% का गाइडेंस दिया. ना व्हेन यू गिव 25 to 30% का गाइडेंस, आपका FY25 वर्सेस FY26 यू शुड बी डूइंग समवेयर रफली अराउंड 3,350 crores या 3,250 crores समवेयर इन दैट रेंज. बट यहाँ पे क्या हुआ है, द स्टार्टिंग ऑफ Q1 हैज नॉट बीन दैट ग्रेट ना, बिकॉज दिस इज अ काइंड ऑफ इंडस्ट्री where H2 is greater than H1, but Q1 has been so weak with the kind of numbers that they have done कि like आगे जाके अगर आपका Q2 Q3 Q4 में, even if you have to reach that 25 to 30% का guidance आपने जो दिया है ना, you have to really pull up your pants and you have to put the work right now. That is the thing. इनका ये बोलना है कि like the reason that sales is up only by 9%, PAT is only up by 5%. The reason is because one, अगर आप देखते हो जो भी order है, because इनका अभी भी 60% of the book comes from the government, right? Order book. So lot of these orders that are there are getting delayed, this year. And this is not just a narrative with Shakti Pumps. Anybody who's working with the B2G, with the government side of the business, you will see, right? पूरा का पूरा यहाँ पे order book तो इधर उधर हो चुका है. That is one thing. Ion Exchange was also, yesterday जो भी covered, वो भी वही narrative बोल रहा था. जो भी आप B2G उठा के देख लो, सभी का यही narrative है. So these people are also, unfortunately, are a victim of this. The second thing, if you see, if you remember, April and May में हमारा एक, वो पाकिस्तान के साथ, that war was there. And these people mostly work in that Punjab, Haryana, in that part of the region, ठीक है, somewhere near the border kind. And these people had called, all this, उनका जो field officer से back, to the main base. So they had lost 10 days of, what do you tell? 10 days of, working days they had lost, because of which there was also an impact of that, ठीक है, ये भी था. So these are the two main reasons, why you will see that, the sales is not up to the mark. The third thing, अगर आप देखते हो ना, why even this guidance of, the 30% might look very, very hard या very difficult to achieve this year, is because उनका अगर आप order book देखते हो, it is only 1,350 crores as of Q1. Let me remind you something. Q1 of FY25, that is same quarter last year में, the order book was 2,000 crore, okay, in just starting of the year, okay, and this was the year which we had elections, okay. It was just the H1 of the year, they had 2,000 crore order book, and right now it is 1,350. So the order book that we see on a year-on-year basis has reduced. Now, yes, the management is telling कि like हाँ हमारा order book increase होगा, progressively in Q2, Q3, Q4 we will get better, QOQ में भी growth रहेगा. But looking at the conditions that is there, the kind of the kind of environment that is there, it just looks very difficult for them to achieve that 3,350 crore, which is a 25 to 30% का guidance. Now, another thing I would like to talk about, another thing which I didn't like in the con call is they keep telling 25 to 30% का guidance, but बार बार when somebody had asked them कि like guidance का number बताओ, they kept telling 3,000 crore. And this is not just in this con call. I have already seen, even in the last con call that is there. मतलब अगर आप देखते हो Q4 का con call also, they guided for 3,000 crore in terms of revenue, right? अगर आप 2,516, which is the FY25 का revenue है, अगर आप I think 2,005 या 516 somewhere around that. So if you compare that to 3,000, that is roughly around 18% kind of growth. Where is 18%? Where is 30%? मतलब that is another thing. Like, why are you repeatedly telling 3,000, 3,000, 3,000, but आप बोल रहे हो 25 to 30%? So this is another thing for me. Like, what is that? Like, maybe that 25 to 30% growth would also not be achievable. They would probably, for the first time, the company that has always exceeded the guidance, probably on an annualized basis, this time, they will miss out on the guidance. They will underperform the guidance that is given by them. But here is the thing, the main concern is the order book, which is very weak right now, just 1,350 crore. And the entire con call में वही बोल रहा था कि like they had to बार they had to convince the shareholder कि like yes we will do 25 to 30%, yes we will do 25 to 30%. Other than that, if you see उनका जो capex का plan है, like they had this plans of doubling their capacity, right? उनका जो solar का structure था, that capacity from 1 lakh to 2 lakh. अगर आप देखते हो उनका VFT capacity which increased from 2 to 4 lakh, that has gone live. और भी 1,700 crores के capex कर रहे हैं, again a split between their EV का that subsidiary that is there. For that they are spending some money, 1200 crores over there. They're putting up, for the DCR cell also they're putting up another facility. So roughly they're doing 1700 crore of capex. But none of this matters at the end of the day. आप कितना भी capex करो, कुछ भी करो, ultimately when there is no growth, and when you are a kind of company जिसका growth is primarily driven by order book, and your order book is not that great, it really doesn't paint a rosy picture. So yes, Shakti Kapoor मैं बोल रही हूँ, Shakti Pumps is slowly, a company that, if you had asked me probably the same time last year, it was the best, it was a good outstanding company according to our rating system. But right now if you see, it is slowly turning, from good, it went to decent in the last 2 quarters, and right now it is turning into poison. And maybe there is a higher chance this time they will miss out on that, 25 to 30% ka guidance. There is a high chance that they, if the things continue the way that they are doing, if they see that the order book is not increasing or so, if the order book doesn't go through, then there is a high chance that, जो 25 to 30% का जो उन्होंने guidance दिया, they will miss out even on this, ठीक है. And slowly you can see a company that is there, good से decent से अभी poison में चल रहा है. Next इस साल के end में अगर वो order book नहीं आया, 30% नहीं करेगा, then it slowly turns into a shit company. So now you understand why tracking is very important, right? जो company इतना अच्छा कर रहा था, where everybody thought, ये, it is the next big thing, you slowly see how, again you see over here, right? Management has the full intent, to work and do everything, but वो क्या करेगा अगर order book नहीं आ रहा है तो, right? It is, I mean, unfortunately it is not the management's fault. It's just that certain times you need to understand, with or without the management's fault, with or without the management's intent, it is just that the demand environment that is there, it doesn't support it at all, right? Ultimately जो shark है, it can grow according to the size of the environment. अगर आप shark को aquarium में डालते हो, aquarium का size में grow करता है. अगर आप shark को, ocean पे डालते हो, it can go freely up to whatever size it wants. So similarly over here also, although the Shakti Pumps, is that shark, right? Earlier it was in Indian Ocean, अभी इसको कोई, उठा के aquarium पे डाला है. So obviously it can't grow at this rate, right? So that is the thing. Beware of this company. Anybody, I know a lot of people abhi kya karega, since they have seen that high of Shakti Pumps, they probably missed out the rally, and now that it is falling and falling, sasta ban ke ja raha hai, people will be like, अरे 25% का growth engine at 20p 21p ऐसा बोल के people will start collecting it. Let me tell you something, just because something is sasta, whether it is in terms of stock price, whether it is in terms of valuation, doesn't mean it is a good deal. Always ask yourself पहला चीज कि like भाई सस्ता क्यों मिल रहा है, ठीक है? अगर there is always a reason कि like सस्ता क्यों है. And in case of Shakti Pumps, you see that PE का de-rating हो चुका है because the माहौल is not that great, because the growth rate has fallen down, pace of growth has come down, guidance is like I told you, guidance is not that strong. It looks like they're going to underperform the guidance. That is why you see stock सस्ता पे सस्ता हो रहा है. अगर आप देखते हो, and अगर आपको कोई सस्ता माल कोई भी सस्ता valuation पे दे रहा है, why would you buy it, right? Like you know that there is something wrong over here. So that is the thing. I would say completely avoid Shakti Pumps. Make sure you're very careful about this company. Wait for things to improve rather than jumping your guns right now. That is all I can tell. Okay, so that's that about Shakti Pumps. And this is also one of the reason that I tell a lot of people have a problem with with churning the portfolio, especially my churn when they look at it. But you tell me, right, if you're somebody who held Shakti Pumps, now what will you do? Unfortunately, you will have to sell it, right? I mean, there would be no go around it. You will have to protect what you made. Similarly, in my portfolio, you will see how how things change based on the management ka narrative, like how I change my allocation depending on the environment, depending on how that company is performing, and what are the new names, how does my portfolio change every quarter, and how I'm not really concerned with the stock price, but mostly with the the company ka performance. You'll get to know in the portfolio analysis ka Q1 FY26 workshop. So make sure you register for that. Link is in the description box below. So that's that with Shakti Pumps that is there. Beware is the only word that I would use over here. Overall, hopefully the order book comes up. Even if the order book comes up right now, they will probably do that 25 to 30% ka growth, which is again, even if they do that 25 to 30% का growth, it is the pace of growth has come down massively. Earlier क्या हो रहा था, मतलब pace of growth बढ़ रहा था at the end of the day, and EPS का भी growth था. As a result, the valuation that it was there for the kind of growth rate that they were providing, it was cheap. अभी क्या हो रहा है, growth rate कम हो रहा है, along with that EPS का भी growth नहीं है, so the same stock becomes way more expensive. It was Shakti Pumps available, वो 400% का growth कर रहा था, available at 60 to 70 PE, was way cheaper than Shakti Shakti Pumps right now doing a 25 to 30% ka growth, available at 20 PE. Understand the difference over here. So that's that with this video. I'll see you again in another video. Bye.